Let's talk about some challenges. I'm curious, what challenges arose from this that maybe wouldn't have in a traditional writing setting? I mean, you spoke about how Neil Strauss found some of the feedback that he got from this group of people who was really dedicated to helping throughout the creative process. That was helpful. Was there anything unhelpful or that you had to work through, didn't expect, caused the roadblock? Just, I mean, and this isn't a knock on what you're trying to do. I'm really curious because it's so new. There's an essence of almost you don't know what you don't know until you go through it.
So this is a little different than like I think your typical book because the process of like being in the writer's room and contributing to the book meant that the story sort of unfolded in a few different ways. Like you all the way through from signing Neil through launching the book, there were like points in time where the community engaged with like the creative process. And we've never written a book outside of this process, and so it would be challenging, I think, to like say exactly what would have been different had we done it alone. But I can say we learned a lot about how we can make it better next time. For example, there was a stretch early on where Neil was hosting like gated town halls in our Discord, and folks could come up and sort of describe bits about their characters, like in character. And
Hmm.
one thing that we learned is it's way different to like write and to craft a story and to craft like a brand around an NFT avatar than it is to like speak as them. For example, like literally coming onto a Discord stage and like talking like Jenkins the Valet is a far more challenging thing than it is to like think about like how Jenkins would respond to something. And so to that end, we've spent like a lot of time, and that's not on Neil, by the way. It's just like the way that we thought it would work. So to that end, we've crafted a lot of the future iterations of our software platform to pull out more like character development from people who like have things to say about their characters in ways that we think make sense for what folks are expecting. And so I think like the process that we used to like write Bored and Dangerous hopefully will be the worst that we ever do. And I thought it was great, but because of like the learning experience. um I'm not sure though what I would say, like what would have been better had we not done it at all, because to be honest, like the book just wouldn't exist without it.
Yeah. Interesting how I guess I hadn't thought about the difference between speaking as the character versus thinking about how the character would respond. Because when you enter public forums, I mean, even this podcast, right? So both of you control the voice behind like Jenkins, right? But right now you're speaking from more of your own perspective, not a Jenkins perspective. And that's an interesting delineation on this kind of digital identity persona I think people are exploring right now. At when are you the PFP and when are you yourself?
I think for us, we're fortunate, and this doesn't happen to everyone, right? But we're fortunate to get big enough where it wasn't sustainable. I think for most, like you, maybe you don't reach that level and you kind of always are a little confused. Whereas
Yeah.
VJ is probably better equipped to speak to it, right? Because it started off as his account, but after a certain point, it was just so much of a brand account that it was not sustainable, right? For VJ to be in there, and so that was why obviously it's really important that he established his own brand and his own identity, like as a founder, where he can step outside of the character and together we can speak about really important business initiatives and share our perspectives and do things like we did with this botched reveal, right, where we can come out as people and admit to what happened, and so. I don't know, VJ. I'd be curious to hear your perspective. You're probably better equipped to speak on it, but yeah, we definitely got to a point where it became a brand, and it became harder to speak as like an individual.
The sort of like to your question at the beginning about like when we started it, could we have expected, like did we have the end in mind? And I don't think we're even close to the end yet. I thought it would be really cool to like act like a valet on Twitter. And like there were just so many apes, right? And they were
So
all
many.
doing really cool stuff. And I was thinking like, yeah, if we write like this ape and it's Jenkins the valet, and you could imagine like somebody posting something and we would just be in the replies being like, hey, you know, like you're drunk. I'm not giving you your keys or something like that. Right. And so early on, like, I would say that like the character and the person were one and the same. Safa and I think are like, you know, fairly entrepreneurial, and at some point realized that there was this exciting thing going on that we wanted to try to like build more to support. And when that happened, Jenkins had to take on a bigger voice. Mm-hmm. And so we scaled that. And I would say that, you know, today, for sure, like, Safa speaks more as Jenkins than I do, and other folks touch the Jenkins account. Like, it's just shifted, and I think that there's not like a playbook. It's just gone how it's gone. And then, you know, as Valet, Jones, and Safa, you might as well be talking to us as humans. Like, this is just the only thing is that like the camera's not on and my name isn't my name. Like, but everything else that we're chatting is just like is like me as a human.
Yeah.
And so that's not hard at all. That's just like that's actually what we saw people doing before we started Jenkins. Yeah. Actually, to pass it back to you, Safa, you might actually find the challenge to be more difficult, because now that we're really running like a brand account, when I was posting as Jenkins was strictly a character. Now Jenkins has to give like business news and be a character sort of at the same time. And I think that that's like a unique challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, it's something whenever we have like a meaningful post that needs to go live, it's always, you know, we're trying to discuss like where to put it out. Jenkins is by far the company's like largest account, right? And so anything that we post there gets the most reach. You can make an argument that potentially some of the things should be posted from Tally, some should be posted from Azerbala. Sometimes Jenkins acts as a first-person character who was like in jail. Sometimes he says we and he speaks on behalf of Tally Labs. I don't know that it's something that we've totally perfected. I also think the community has been willing to like suspend disbelief and treat it as a brand account and understand that it can kind of go in and out of character. But yeah, when that is like has such a larger share of voice than really anything else that we have, I guess outside of Thread Guy, it can be challenging to figure out when to be in character, when not to, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting takes to hear, because especially for creators or entrepreneurs, I think a lot of people are thinking through some of the same. You know, when is my voice this, and when can my voice shift to be something else?
You're listening to the Unstoppable Podcast, the go-to place for everyone to learn about the latest innovations in Web3, NFTs, and the decentralized web. Welcome to the Metaverse.